Welcome to this, our third meeting of the Ending Parkinson's Disease Online Book Club. We are starting this up and we are figuring out why us. And again, as we mentioned a moment ago, why not? So these are the questions we have in front of us at the moment, and we're open to more questions because really that's where I think we move forward. You know, the idea of the answers is something we're working on, but the questions will lead us to hopefully more conversation. So first of all, quick straw poll. How many have actually read the book? We want to find out because not everyone has. Oh, in this room, it looks like yes, everybody has. That's good.
Yeah, but a while ago, so I don't remember much.
Well, and that's fine. A lot of books,
Yeah.
the thing is, reading them a second time, should you be able to, or just follow them, they can give you a context to say, oh, that was the baseline. And the authors themselves would tell you it came out in 2020. There's been movement since then. So I think having read it once, you know what's going on. So in brief terms, just a line or two, where did the book either affect or succeed for you? If anybody has, just a quick one. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Through the charts and just the verbiage on that, the way I read books, underlining stars and stuff, a lot of incredibly great facts about Parkinson's that I'd never really thought of. Like it came up with a historical timeline. And what about DBS? And what about focus ultrasound or gamma knife? And I have taken what I've read in this book and done some research and created my own timelines for Parkinson's. And I share that with groups every time I speak with them so that people see we're making some major progress on this disease in the last 10 years. So let's keep the ball rolling. Let's keep going.
I love what Greg just said there, and I want to underline this and maybe see if anyone wants to yes and, because he brings forward, I think, one of the most important things we can have in this case, which is hope, right? The idea that we're making progress. How do you feel about Greg's proposal that, in what he is seeing, that we are making great progress in the last 10 years? Does that sound right to you? And if it doesn't, that's okay, by the way. This is a discussion. And if it does, then what does it do for you, this idea that maybe we are propelling forward? Karen?
It gives me hope. I'm glad to finally be in a group that I can talk to about this stuff with. When I read the book, it was like I lived in all the wrong places at all the wrong times, and I did all the wrong things. It was like reading my life story, going from the West Coast to the East Coast, and now I'm here. So let's get me more involved so I can do more here forward.
Yeah, you've walked the steps and you're ready for more. Good. BJ.
Oh gosh, yes. That book was something else for me.
So I'll be honest and say I've started it but not finished it. But what Greg talks about and what I've noticed, I can't speak for more than 10 years ago, but I believe there's been a surge in the building of communities in all the different types of therapies, all the different kinds of, and it may have been actually due to COVID that everyone started connecting online. And so now we've gotten used to interacting with people from coast to coast, and you can get more done without having to go everywhere. So I think that's the most important thing of a grassroots revolution, is to have that connection all over.
I love it. I love the idea of a connection, and I love the idea of feeling, baseline connected as well. That, if we understand, this is what the book does. It gives us a great summary of what historically is understood about it, back to James Parkinson's, to relatively new, and then say, okay, now what? Now we can jump off. And like BJ said, because this book was released right at the beginning of COVID, it got pushed off of the headlines by, a pandemic of a different ilk, but they're not pulling punches. They're calling this a pandemic. Now, that was supposed to be a huge call to action. The word lost its value against COVID somewhat. However, the facts haven't changed. It still lines up as a pandemic, and it's just one that affects people differently. I see Greg.
when I speak with groups, I always talk with them. You could not pick a better time in the history of mankind to have Parkinson's. So we should take that upon ourselves to say, you know what, the boom generation has changed everything that sociologists, economists, any of the social studies has ever thought about generations. And why not be the generation that ends Parkinson?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's what too many people say. How are you going to end something you don't even know what causes it or what does that? And to me, it's going, I hope we find a cure. I hope we find what causes Parkinson's, or at least some of the parts of Parkinson's. But what I definitely know that we need to do is use strategies that have worked in the past for other people to jump on Parkinson's back and make it wish it had never met this generation.
So I want to yes and Greg, thank you for that, which I think is the gap, that there's a lot of fired up energy in here and a lot of, determination, and there's, a knowledge bank. And to Greg's point, in terms of opportunity, maybe this is the greatest time to have it. Part of that is driven by the fact that unfortunately it's as prevalent as it is. So we have, that weird dichotomy. The more people that get it, the more energy and effort. So we're trying to end people getting it, but at the same time, the more people that get it, we're getting more attention too. So that weird thing. Here's the question: how for you can you get your friends, family, and community engaged? And if it's been difficult for you, let's talk about that too. What are your challenges? So, because each of us, this is the old political line, right? Think globally, act locally. And that really doesn't mean just your community. Notice that's the third thing on the list. It's friends and family. And what my research has shown me a lot is that there's a real disconnect in an awful lot of families, the root level, about what it means to have Parkinson's and what getting family members on board. I mean, Greg's book seems to be the opposite of that, where his family is, really out there talking and backing and saying, we're in agreement with you. We got that. That's not the typical story, at least that I hear from a lot of people with Parkinson's who are loggerheads with their family members about what it means to even have it. So let's talk about those challenges, and then maybe how we can turn those channels or challenges around. Yes, Greg.
I don't mean to
You're doing awesome. Don't worry about it.
Overspeak my bounds, but I just got back from Colorado, and a group that we started, myself, a physical therapist, and another gentleman with Parkinson's, we started a group called Parkinson's Point. We just had our third annual awards and recognition dinner, which AKA means fundraising. We were awarded a $75,000 grant from a family foundation, and we raised above and beyond that $102,000 in one night from friends and family. And I'm not saying we did anything special. I think everybody is capable of doing those kinds of things. If you just think, who's out there? What can I personally do? And I think if more people would do stuff like that, I agree with you on think globally, act locally. In the interim, in between there, resource regionally.
That's good.
Nobody has all the answers. Nobody has all the speakers. Nobody has all the.
Right.
But if we work together regionally,
Yeah,
and get those key ball players together, I think we put a big dent in Parkinson's And you are correct. There's a zillion people. There's over 1 million people in the United States with it, over 10 million in the world that we can theorize.
Right.
My guess is if we could count them all, those would be silly numbers.
Yeah.
So why not be the generation that says, hey, wait a minute, let's put an end to this crap.
Right.
Because if I could do anything to prevent my children or grandchildren from having to live with this disease, I would do it.
Well, and it sounds like you're the rubber meeting the road. You are doing it. So that's the example we want to put forward. Now, to that end, because you talk, what you said, not doing that much. I think those are phenomenal numbers that you bring up, and that money is of course part of what this needs in order for us to get attention. There's a financial reality to what we do. There's also then the consideration of where does that money go, right? Because there are different agencies, and within Parkinson's, we have these different groups with different focuses. Now, what I don't want to do is start a platform war here. Everyone can back whomever they wish to. That's fine. However, I wonder if anyone has a group that they particularly feel confident giving to, and why they feel that direction. So again, this is not to criticize or to, say better or worse. It's to say whom. I see Stacy. Yes, Stacy.
Yeah, I was just going to point out the Northwest chapter of the American Parkinson's Disease Association, because they are so forward thinking in their programs for especially newly diagnosed, and getting us out from the hinterland of confusion and chaos and bringing us into a bit of education, and more than a bit of education, and coming to grips with what we're dealing with. And they're a really good one.
I've had very good experiences with the Northwest APDA, and it's interesting. And again, regionally, going back to Greg's word there, that shows you, and not to take out any other form of the APDA, but for whatever reason, the Northwest chapter, I have had excellent experiences with as well. So I'm glad to hear you have too. Susan, did you have something to add there?
Just a distinction. There's research money, and then there's the kind of thing that we do and that the Davis Finney Foundation does, and the PDA and so many others do to support quality of life issues. So,
well, and the thing is, rather than I would hope them be separated, is to say they can, and I'll use the judgmental word, should work together. That the quality of life, it impacts the ability to do the research. The researchers need the people with the quality of life in order to have something to look at and to measure and to study. And so instead of saying it's all one or all the other, we can say we are integrated. And that I know from a policy standpoint, if Michael J. Fox Foundation, for instance, says we are research strictly, look, that's fine. That's their business model. Parkinson's Foundation says, we do a little of both because they have both sides. Davis Finney tends to be mostly quality of life, I think. So there's not a right or wrong. I hope the overarching message is we all need each other, because one of my biggest frustrations within the Parkinson's community is when those walls exist, that the researchers are off doing their things and they're not listening or paying attention to the people who are going through it. And, that leads to lesser. Yeah, Greg.
2 organizations that I have helped with raising these funds. Parkinson's Point in Denver, and it's called Jack's Hope. I have the t-shirt on. Here in Florida. The resource regionally, there are a lot of people with a dog in the hunt. There are a lot of people that have a parent, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle that have Parkinson's. But the theory in America often is, why spend perfectly good money on sick people that aren't going to get better? We have to overcome that theory. And we have to come up with people that says, I've had Parkinson's for 13 years. and I'll take on, you tell me the task, let's go. And more importantly, what I do in both those two regional groups, because I also run a local support group, so that you never lose touch with the common person with Parkinson's. But the money that we raise, we say, you want boxing classes? Boxing classes have to cost money because somebody worth of crap has to teach you how to box properly. So we pay for that. Want a good speaker on a certain topic? That might cost $500, $200, $700. We pay for that for a series of local support groups, not just mine, but a whole bunch of them. And if we did that kind of, national level, because research literally is going to have to take billions of dollars.
Right. So that's government money usually at that point we're talking.
Bingo. But we can take these friends, these people that give us family foundations. How many family foundations have been started? I should look that up. I don't know that answer. How many family foundations are there in America? Like this guy's a friend of mine. I helped him start his lighting business. He had a rich uncle, had no kids, left him $8 million to divvy up every year. I learned about it by having lunch with my friend and said, I raised my hand. Hey, I got Parkinson's. I helped you start your business. You helped me end Parkinson's.
Man, that's a perfect take. And you're right that there are those generative wealth opportunities out there that people end up not knowing what to do with. I know it's a strange sounding problem, but it exists. And there is a group called the Parkinson's Voice Project down in Dallas area, and that's very much where Samantha lives. That she is tapped into a couple of those generative wealth groups, and I don't know where she's at now. Her goal for this year, I think, was 20 million, and I saw she was at 11 or 12. So she's doing tremendous work in that field. And, like you said, it's mostly tapping into families. And so this is, it takes exactly what you said, raising your hand, saying, well, here's what we're doing. And I frankly, I appreciate the modeling you put forward, talking about prescriptive wellness and talking about meeting the needs of the individual groups. So that's good stuff. I saw a couple hands. I think I saw Stacy.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just occurred to me, I helped a guy with his wedding engagement and a number of other things who I'd called him with bad news, and it turns out he used in Parkinson's research. Would we be interested in hearing what they're doing? They're working in like nanotechnology for passing the blood-brain barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Would we be interested in hearing from these? I mean, the type of new research that this is a private company.
Define what you mean by hearing from them. What would that entail, and why? And I'm not saying wouldn't, but why would we be interested in hearing from them?
To hear what new technologies are coming out here and where there's private sector money so that we can be talking and walking completely informed. I don't know. Maybe not. No.
I'm with you. Here's what I'd say. This is just me, my personal bias about, the new technologies or where the research is coming is it almost doesn't matter. And people get excited about it, but when my personal play is toward what can we do now today? The people who are handling that stuff coming down the pipe, good when it actually arrives and not just when it's being developed.
He's talking soon. It's in the next couple of years, which is kind of amazing. But I don't,
Yeah, and the difference between a day and a year is kind of where I'm trying to lens that a little bit. I'll look forward to a year or two from now. I think that's awesome. The focus is on today, right?
Okay.
And not that I'm against any of that, but I'm happy for them. That's my personal thing. Greg.
Well, what do you,
I was just gonna say, Stacy, I know a gentleman that does the same thing in Boulder, you know, going after stem cell stuff. And he's like, Greg, we are this close. We are this
I
close to
know.
coming up with. And my
I wonder
point
if they're,
is that those people, especially if they work for a private enterprise or small companies, they have an awful lot of stuff they've got to be careful about what they. I'd love to
No.
tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
Yeah.
no, but I think, do you think that they are so flush and they're wanting to get into the Parkinson's community that they might be interested in participating financially, you know, as they're launching these new things? Their PR has to go.
Now
You know,
that's
I
a
don't
different
know.
question. That's a different
Yeah,
question.
just occurred
That's
to
a
me.
that's a great deal, Stacy. If we could find, I think Parkinson's could take off as a grassroots deal. If we could find people like that have a dog in the hunt. It
That's
always comes down to
Yep.
having a dog in the hunt.
right.
I
And
like
I
the way
hope
you
everybody
say
knows what I
that.
mean by that.
Yeah.
But if they have a dog in the hunt, we can find a home for them, and we can find a use for that money, and help people with Parkinson's today live a better life.
Karen, think of it as skin in the game. It means basically saying that there's something in it for them. It's
Yeah.
not truly altruistic, which is okay. Greg has a deep business background, so he understands the acumen and the thinking of a lot of the folks that are involved. And honestly, it does us well, even in the nonprofit sector, maybe especially in the nonprofit sector, to recognize and work with those people, because they're the ones who are going to have access to the deepest funds outside of the pink unicorn families, right? That we find.
Mhm.
They're out there, but the business development types are more tangible. So that's good. Yeah, Susan.
Getting to them is really tricky. If you don't
Mhm.
know them, that Robert and I beat our heads against a wall with a couple of inroads, and the dog was the guy. It was.
Yeah, let's
We
bring
didn't
that
get
up.
there.
It's a good story. In Austin, there's a gentleman who passed about a year ago, maybe 2 years now,
Yeah, it
by
was
the
Halloween.
by the
Yeah.
name of Pike Powers 2 years ago. And Pike Powers is known for being kind of a technology godfather to the Austin area. He was a lawyer, he was a politician, he had Parkinson's. And many of the big tech companies still look toward him, and especially in his passing in the obituary, he's very well known, well respected. We're grateful for what he did to make Austin into the modern city it is today. So Susan is an Austin resident, and we talked about, how can we get to the family to maybe honor Pike at our first big social event, which we did back in the spring. And through Susan's several contacts, we got close, but never quite to. And they are quite a wealthy family, it sure seems. And so there are barriers, understandably, layers and levels to get through. Now, that's an example of a pursuit. And, we got close, but never to. And whether or not even the pitch would be received, it was something we did.
Yeah, we didn't have a chance to pitch.
Correct.
And the key, if I can,
Yeah.
the key to what you're talking about is you have to pursue relationships where there is mutually beneficial deals. So, for example, Jack's Hope, we take money, some support group has somebody, Joe Schmo, the walking stick person, comes in and says, hey, I think you guys all ought to try this therapeutic polling while you walk. And everyone goes, oh, hey, that's great. But I don't have $35 because nobody wants to invest in old dying people.
There's that line. And I love you accompanying that, because if they don't see the growth, the opportunity in it, they say, well, they were going to die anyway, right? I mean, that's just a brutal business assessment, and it's moralistically horrifying. However, if we don't understand that, we're missing where the money is.
Right. And so the answer to that is you are correct. If you crack a deal, and I've done this twice now with me, where I have support groups with 20 to 40 people. I need 5 of your walking sticks for free. I present an educational program to a support group. Here's why walking sticks is good, and let's have prize winners. Whoever can answer the question and prove they were listening to what I was talking about wins. And they get them for free. And Americans love free crap. So play to that.
Yeah.
But what we do is you give me a deal on your sticks, you give me 5 for free, I guarantee you will buy 25 of them.
Right.
Now people are interested.
That's a model exactly for things that are out there. And again, what I hope we, the people with and serving the Parkinson's community, remember is that those business folk are looking target wise at, you know, potential consumers, not just as your individual money, but as your insurance money, right? As your billable opportunity. So that's why, yes, the pharma companies show up the way they do and shell out the money they do for awareness that you might request their pill or their product, right? This is, I guess, understanding your power as either a person with or affected by Parkinson's. Am I hearing that right, Greg?
Absolutely. And it's even stronger on the political end of things. You know, the Michael J. Fox people just had a day of, support this bill that's a national deal to end Parkinson's. Really, it's to set up a committee. So they ought to name it correctly, but that's a whole nother issue. My point is every time I get a chance to talk with politicians, I mention 2 things. Parkinson's is an old person's disease. Old people vote. Most people in America vote on one topic. They're into or hate abortion. They're into or they hate fill in the blank. Most people vote on one issue.
Right.
And I, Mr. House of Representative or Senator, I represent 20 votes, not 1, 40 votes, because there's 20 people in my support group.
Right.
And I badmouth you or I talk nice about you based on how you represent me in Congress.
And that single issue. Yeah.
And people, you'd be surprised at how much people are, Mr. Richard, we were just thinking of you and hoping you had a good day. And you go, oh, yeah, I'm sure that as soon as the election's over, you forgot who I was, but that's fine.
So let me ask, because you brought up something there and it caused a stir, I think reasonably so, with a number of people who aren't the old people with Parkinson's. It's one of our questions for the day. What is the story of Parkinson's disease? And I'd like to open this up. I haven't heard from a couple of people who tell, I want to hear your version when you think of or tell other people what is the story of Parkinson's disease, because I think that narrative can be everything when it comes to sharing what you want and how you go about it. So this is not right or wrong. This is entirely subjective. What is, by your understanding, the story? Yeah, Shabir.
Story is that if you see one person with Parkinson, you see one person with Parkinson, there are 150 symptoms, and just because you know one person doesn't mean you're gonna, assume everything that happens. And it's not necessarily an old person, because again, what is old? I feel I'm 75 and I'm young. I do everything. I go swim, I go to the gym, that's not necessarily true either. So it's just, that's the story. you can't justify or assume anything about Parkinson's.
I love that. And here's the power of that. I just want to yes and of what Shabir said. The fluidity allows one person to tell it like Greg does. It's an old person disease, to work with this politician, and Shabir, you to tell it another way. No, it's this, to another person.
Mhm.
Everybody's perspective is true because nobody holds the truth of Parkinson's. And
Mhm.
I want all of you to step into ownership of your version and understanding of Parkinson's. What you need is what you need. That's the truth, and leverage that to get what you need. That's what I want to see, you know.
So hell yes, I want a cure, but I don't have that option for this afternoon. So this afternoon, I want something to address quality of life.
Right.
And how do you? I so totally get having a dog in the hunt. It makes all the difference. Yeah, but we don't have sticks. We don't have a thing. You know, we have heart, and
Well, and Susan, let me ask you this,
we
because
have that exchange that you were talking about, Greg.
well, Susan, you've talked about quality of life, one of those things being sense of purpose and also discovery of self. And, you know, this is an aging question for everybody. No matter where you are, I think in the aging process, we unpeel certain layers of ourselves, and Parkinson's and many other life events can change our identity or can be part of that. And we can either succumb to the negative aspects of the story of those changes, or we can recognize, kind of like what Shabir is saying, I'm going to keep pushing and becoming whatever I want to be at this age, not being defined by my age. That's somewhat your story, isn't it, Susan? I mean, the uncovering and the unpeeling of layers of self.
Yes, yes, and yes, I'd love a cure, but right now, that's what the fight that I'm fighting and the joy that I'm having in my life is self-discovery and courage. So
And yeah,
Good and scary.
yeah. BJ, that to me sounds similar to your story too, about the person, as you've written about in our classes, who you become, who you were at different ages and phases, and who you become as this uber Parkinson's advocate, and the pieces of yourself you brought to the community, right? You're unleashing pieces of you in different ways. Is that accurate?
Yes, but I'm also about daily life quality of life as well. And that's why earlier you asked about certain foundations. And I align with things that improve my life today. So I kind of side with Parkinson's Foundation because of all their resources. And they're focusing on care partners, and they're focusing on what you need to do to cope daily and all that. And then, like I said, I've never been to a Jam for Joy and not felt better when I left. So of course I'm going to align with that as well. So I try to, my biggest thing is to make connections between people and to build relationships that way. And that way, whenever something goes out, you really only have to tell one person, and they tell two people, and they tell, you know, it's like that old commercial, and they told two friends, and they told two friends. So it's all about building connection.
Yeah, I keep hearing the word relationship and connections in here. And I think those are wonderful, powerful words to keep focusing on to make our story relationships and connections. I see Stacy and then Karen. Stacy.
Yeah. Well, I'm segueing on Sabira and Craig, what they said about how we present our story. I kind of segue in Europe. It's a big push. Many doctors know it's the largest growing disease among young people. And so when I'm blabbing my mouth around about having Parkinson's, and it's like I feel like it's part of my Parkinson's to share with everybody about it, because you know what? You may not know you have it. And I present it from this angle, and it's the fastest of growing amongst young people. And you all need to have the knowledge so you can advocate for yourself, because like me, I went 8 years without getting a diagnosis, and I could be so better off. And so I kind of think of myself as segueing from what Sabir said as a public service announcement from that angle. YOLO, so no, but no, we're not, you know?
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
a lot of people out there are probably not either and don't even know it.
Yeah, there's the awareness. It could, there is a natural tendency towards, I think, anything that is undesirable to say, not me. How could this be me anyway? And there is, I think one of the potential pitfalls of seeing it only as the old white man disease, right? Because people who may have it or may be able to get help, right, Stacy, think
Mhm.
that that's not it. And maybe their doctors think that way too. And like you said, 8 years later, Karen, you had your hand up.
I'm just glad to be a part of it. It's a long thing.
Karen, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's futzing on us again, unfortunately. Yeah, it's not working for us. Shoot, I'm sorry. I think when we get more people in here, your bandwidth just gets limited. If you want to try typing it, I'd love to hear from you. Let me go back to Greg and then BJ.
All right. Two things. First off, when I talk with politicians, I definitely talk about old people and I talk about voting because I'm an old person. I follow that up with, do you know the fastest growing segment of the Parkinson's population? It is the early onsetters.
Right.
So they only have to worry about me voting against them for 1 or 2 more elections. Then I'm toast.
Right.
Somebody that's young with the young onset, they are anywhere from 10 to 15% of the people with Parkinson's, and that percentage appears to me to be growing.
Yeah.
So that's one critical issue. People start then going, oh crap, I'm going to have some people that don't like me for 6 or 7
cycles
of elections. I can't tolerate that.
Right. So that's what, so you use it as kind of an insert. I've got your attention here and now I'm going to follow up with, which I
Right.
appreciate. Yeah, very good. BJ, you had something to add as well?
Yeah, I think the whole approach, I'm a little choked up. The whole approach is we've been under the radar for so long and kind of looking to take care of ourselves and doing nice and fun things and everything else. But we have to do something to get people to pay attention and to shock them into saying, yeah, someone with Parkinson's, but it's a relative and they're able to move around and, but they don't understand all the aspects. So we have to do something to just change that mindset where everyone says, well, they'll be fine,
Yeah. So let's try something right here because I think that segues nicely into one of the things I was going to bring up. And let me see if it decides to come up. Yeah, it will. When you talk about getting attention, one of the ways people do that is, of course, through social media and challenges. And many of you probably know this one pretty well, but it's a 1-minute wrap up of what they did. Let's take a look.
You have 24 hours to respond, or you're going to donate $100 to the ALS Foundation. Here we go. Good luck, guys. Let's do this.
Okay. So when you see that, what do you see within that very quick and clear messaging? Yes, Susan.
How many of us did that? Half of us, roughly.
Yeah. So what do you see in the video? What do you see or feel when you see that? What was your takeaway?
Humor,
Humor, great. That was part of it.
The fact that you had to nominate other people, it made it a connecting event.
Right.
So cool. And innovation and creativity.
Innovation, creativity, humor. Was there a whole lot about what ALS is? No. And isn't that interesting? Because here's the thing, when they said it really took off was when the person with ALS got involved and they made him part of it. They didn't say, oh, you poor thing, and off in the corner, or show him as a weak whatever. He got the ice bucket like everybody else. And
I think
his
nominated. I think when they got celebrities nominated.
Sure. And note who did it, right? It was a guy who already had ALS and was part of something that was mildly trending. And yeah, they got a little lucky, 100%. However, it's hard to get lucky quiet, right? It's a lot easier to get lucky when you're loud. And by the way, when you're having fun, because think of the number of places and people, I hear this a lot, who have their hands out. Man, there's a lot of us 501c3s out there, and God love all of us for doing what we're doing. People, it's not that they don't want to give, it's how. Can we make giving look and feel different? Can we make them participants in it? Can we have them laugh? Can we have them having fun to say, you know what? Yeah, the disease sucks, but I don't suck. Okay. I'm fighting this thing. And one of the ways I fight is with humor, with connection, with relationships. I'm not dead. I'm not a poor person. Don't pity me. Empower me. Yeah, Greg.
I want to make a television commercial for next April, and I've started working with a video company on doing this. I don't know crap about social media or how to get anything placed or anything like that. I leave that all up to young people. They know how to do that. I want to make a video that says, I have Parkinson's. And I have some friends that have Parkinson's, and we all have tremor. And I don't want you to have this. So I want you to donate money to fill in the blank cause. And then the next person would say, I don't have tremor, I have dyskinesia. And the next person would say, I don't have either of those, but I get up almost every night when I sleep and act out my dreams. And you start filling in the screen. Do you know the ending to the movie Love Actually?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Where it just shows what's love? What's love?
Mhm.
It's this amazing thing. And for all these different couples, it's totally different. It's
Mhm.
expressed differently. It's received differently. And I would love to show just thousands of these boxes and go, there's a million of us right now, but we don't want any more people joining our club.
Right.
But only you can help. And I think that would be a powerful ad that, whoever wants to put it on social media can do all that. We just need to make something like that catches, that has that stickiness factor, that everyone who watches it goes, oh crap, that could be me.
Too late to make the difference.
Sorry, Karen, it's not coming through clearly, my dear. I hear your energy, and I see here in the chat that you've written, I've been inspired here to reach out to the community as far as my family is concerned. This is my journey, they say. I've been told you do you. Ouch, which is one Stacy knows repeatedly. They don't want to hear it. So that is a hard thing within the family, and I think that could be part of that could fit inside of Greg's message, right? I mean, that's another version. Everybody, if they have their story within Parkinson's, and it turns out to be a beautiful tableau of diversity and inclusion, it makes people go, oh, I thought I knew Parkinson's, but I didn't know it was that. I didn't know it was that. I didn't know it was that. There's a real lean in to that, Greg.
And right today, we'd have to have just as many African American faces and just as many
Right.
Asian faces and just as many Hispanic faces as we can, and prove the point that I think your name is Shamir. I'm sorry if
Jameer.
I'm butchering your name.
Jameer.
Jameer.
Beer.
Beer.
Oh, okay.
Shamir.
All right. Shamir. Prove your point that if you know one person with Parkinson's, you know one set of symptoms. But there's a million of us,
Mhm.
and we all have a totally different set. And I think if you could, you got a column of shakers, you got a column of dyskinesias, you got a column of, figure out what you want to show. Depression, what I call the Frankenstein walkers.
Yeah.
Craig, that was me.
Yeah,
What's
absolutely.
what's the statistic, Robert, that by 2040 the
It'll
numbers
double. Yeah,
Double.
it doubled from
Really?
1990 to 2015. It'll double again by 2040 if we don't do anything. And that's one of the marks of it being a pandemic.
Pandemic.
So BJ, you had your hand up, bud.
And the thing
Yeah.
is, it's not even contagious.
No, that's
That's it's
yeah,
spread-
not it isn't transmitted that way.
yeah,
but
we transmit
in our
it.
environment,
It's coming from environment or whatever. I don't know. But
Yeah,
My father and I got it at the same time. We don't share any genetic markers right now, but
Yeah.
our symptoms came out at the same time.
Yeah.
What
and
else could it be?
that's another story. Absolutely.
Yeah.
BJ, go ahead, buddy. You've been waiting.
So he was talking about the different symptoms. I mean, if I really have to do it, I'll do a billboard in my diaper about, overactive bladder. I'm just saying. Instead to bring humor.
and it could be an actual size type billboard, right?
That's
You know?
Like
this
Joe
is
Namath
really
did,
neat.
Joe Namath and Steve Garvey, with their
Yeah.
Tiny
And put
whities.
them next to you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think the title of that particular group would be something like Bladders Behaving Badly.
Yes.
I like that. I like that very much.
That's awesome.
I
That's
see
really
Karen
funny.
has written in here that the importance of selling the idea that it's not too late to make a difference. And I think that's important, selling the idea of hope, because for, people who have been in this for the long haul or who know a certain version of the story. I mean, my dad was diagnosed in 2001, and we've ridden the real kind of down cycle feeling. And then just recently, honestly, through the work with a lot of you through the Day One program, I've gotten re-inspired as part of the reason to do this, to even push further, to go, we're going to take on the impossible. Even if it is impossible, we're not going to let that define us, because there are too many examples of the impossible becoming possible by people demanding it. So that's a story change, BJ.
Yeah, someone said it's not contagious, but that might be something we can use by saying, if it was contagious, I bet you'd donate.
Yeah. What if I sneeze Parkinson's onto you? Yeah, then what would you
Right.
say?
I mean,
Right.
why is it okay that I experience all this and it's not contagious? Well, what if it was? I bet you donate if you had a chance to live this life.
talking
Well,
about
isn't it kind of contagious if you're catching it from the environment?
Well, and that's the right way, Stacy. That's exactly
Right.
the right way to frame
Yeah.
it. And that's of course probably one of the best stories that could work in our favor to catch on to people. Greg talked about single issue voters. If we could get in with people who are single issue environmental, right? The people who make the environment their cause, that's their single issue. Lump in with them, because they're already going to be against paraquat TCE. And by the way, there's a quick thing that came up just this week about a potential TCA ban by the EPA, and they're taking comments on this right now. I think for the next 30 to 45 days. Put this up really quickly. I'll put the link in the chat. but this is open, and I've read some of the comment boxes right now are filled with those who are the makers of TCE selling their wares about it not being that bad. It's the familiar. The tests that have been run to show TCE as dangerous are inadequate, or they're too small a sample size, or whatever it is. They're knocking it down with their lawyers in every single way they can to say TCE is being unfairly targeted, and even that it'll cause market problems if you ban this because of the usefulness of the product. These are the arguments they're making broadly against TCE and being banned, that is. So just recognize, you see the date on this, October 25th, 2023. This is extremely, this is right now. So again, I'll put this in the, if you Google search EPA ban on TCE, you'll get this and other things, but I just want to make you aware. We're about at time, and I want to just address, Susan had mentioned, the previous PSAs we've shown. That was a great piece of last time, and they're still part of the PowerPoint, and we can certainly readdress and move forward. We have so many ways of how we decide what will we do to end Parkinson's disease, and that's what this is about. So whether it's a commercial, whether it's a PSA, whether it's a social media movement, something locally, regionally, globally driven, whatever, all those things, if we're re-inspired out of this last hour we spent together, and we are more connected to each other, and hopefully all of you are ready to yes and reach out to each other if you heard something good from one of your fellow screen mates, then I think we've done our job for today, and that's what I think need to keep doing, is keep connecting. I hope that, how does that sound to everybody, that we keep connecting and reaching out? Does that sound good?
Mhm.
Yeah, BJ, you have your hand up.
Can you send out that list of questions you had?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll do a follow-up email to this, and with that. And by all means, if you guys have things that you think should be on next month's agenda, as it were, which I think is the day after Thanksgiving, let me know. If you're doing something, if you're hot on something, if you've got a commercial idea, blah, 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 anything that we could workshop in here, let's do that, okay? And Shabir says, in Parkinson had an email, read the ban. That's right. So that was part of, I saw that there too. Exactly. So keep that out there. If you're not on the Ending Parkinson's Disease email list, endingpd.org, just get on their newsletter, because it'll give the most current information on what they're up to.
I think talking about impossible, we gotta have that Greg's video on Super Bowl.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Well, how would you guys feel as we get out the door here? How would you guys feel about, I'll make the pitch to Doctors Dorsey, Oken, and Bloom to see if maybe they would come join us. See if any of them would come into this room. I know them a little bit. I think they'd be happy to meet you all, and let me see what I can do, because they're active, they're out there. Oh, here's someone who wants to meet you. Come here. This is
Stella.
Hi, Stella. Okay.
My Stella is here too.
Oh, good.
She's right behind me at the door. See you there?
I did for a second. Tilt back up.
Oh my God. Oh, my head is
behind your head. There's Stella.
Oh, that's
Those of you in my class have heard about her? Yes.
Well, thank you everybody again for being here, and let's stay connected, and please let me know what's going on. And by the way, we have our Jam for Joys twice a week. That's a place to play, and sometimes fun stuff comes up in there we didn't even mean to, which is great. And also don't forget the Day One program, that our next round starts in January. So if your story needs to be developed, please, that's a place to come and workshop with a lot of great people, and find things that maybe you don't even know are there. Okay. Thanks everybody. Have a great weekend. Take care.
Bye.